Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In an effort to get back to reviewing movies when I watch them as soon as possible, I decided we're going to talk today about all the movies that I've seen lately at the movie theater, all in the past week. So we're going to be talking about 3 movies today. It's going to be The Little Mermaid, The Boogeyman, and Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. And yes, I left the best for last. I'm excited to talk about these movies today. It's gonna be much more of a chillaxed video. I'm gonna have timestamps down below in case you guys are interested in my thoughts on a specific movie, but we're gonna be doing no spoilers in this video, just me talking about how I feel about these. But it's a great start to summer. We've got some pretty great movies to talk about, and I'm very, very excited about it. But if you are new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel for weekly movie videos. I have a lot of really fun and exciting stuff coming up this summer, and I'm really excited for you guys all to see. And also let me know what your favorite movie of the summer is so far. Without further ado, let's just get started talking about The Little Mermaid first. So if you saw my most anticipated summer movies, The Little Mermaid made that list, and I've been really excited about it for a super long time, and I'm really happy to report that I enjoyed it for the most part. Now, I don't think the movie is perfect in any way, and I will be getting into that a little bit, but I really wanted to highlight Halle Bailey because I said I was most excited to watch it because of her, and she delivered. I think she did a really great job playing Ariel, and even in moments when she wasn't singing, she wasn't speaking, as she obviously doesn't speak for most of the movie because Ursula takes her voice. She had a very good charm, and she honestly, in my opinion, carried the movie. Her alongside her co-star who plays Prince Eric, Jonah King, genuinely think they made this movie, and without them in this movie, in these roles, I don't think the movie would have been as entertaining, as engaging, as good as I think it is. Because I think they both did a very good job in selling us in the romance aspect of this movie. One could say that in the original animated The Little Mermaid, the romance isn't really that strong, and I haven't seen that movie in a minute, I will be honest about that, but I think with what I remember, this movie, genuinely what I took away from it was they had really great on-screen chemistry, and there was a lot of really cute moments in the movie where you truly got to understand why they're drawn to each other. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when Ariel first goes to Eric's castle and stuff, and she's like exploring, and she finds this room full of his treasures, and it sort of parallels her treasure collection under the sea. And I thought it was really cute way to show that yes, Prince Eric has a personality and they're actual humans and they have connections, and they were able to bond over that, which I thought was so cute. And there's little moments here and there. Another really cute moment was when Prince Eric gets to learn Ariel's name. Literally such a cute scene. That happened very closely to the Kiss the Girl sequence, which I also really liked. So I think even if this movie has flaws, I genuinely think it was so satisfying to see their relationship blossom, and like I was rooting for them so much because even though I obviously know how it ends up, this is a Disney movie, they're gonna get their happy ending, it was really great to see them both on screen. Now, one thing that I really didn't love about this movie was Javier Bardem's performance as King Triton. I genuinely thought it was so disappointing. Like, I didn't go into this movie being like, I need a great King Triton in The Little Mermaid movie. There was a lot of scenes that I don't know if it was his fault or if it was the movie's pacing fault, where I'm like, I think we should be focusing on this moment a little more. All the way towards the end where he's like talking with Sebastian, he's like, okay, no, like it's time, like I'm gonna let my daughter go. Like, it doesn't really go like that. I don't remember the exact words. Basically, when he gives Ariel her legs, I thought that moment needed to be really emotional and make me cry. I just specifically remember it being so fast, and his performance and the way he was saying the lines just wasn't my favorite. Another moment earlier on in the movie, the scene where he's like destroying her stuff, or like he's angry at Ariel, I don't think it hit that hard as it does in the animated movie, and I think a lot of it is because of the performance. But it wasn't my least favorite performance. I think my least favorite performance was Awkwafina, and I just didn't really like Scuttle. I didn't like the Scuttle song either, but I don't really love the new music either, and I think it's because in a way it feels out of place. Like, there's like the song Wild Uncharted Waters. I'm not the biggest fan of that song, and I'm not hating on his singing. I'm not hating on the lyrics because I think it's an okay song. I just really didn't get into it. Like, I just think the new songs don't really align with the old songs in my opinion, and it was a little out of place. I don't think we really needed that moment with Prince Eric because I think I would have done just fine without it. I think the new songs obviously were added in, and I think it very much felt like they were added in, but I really enjoyed this movie. Like, I think it was very cute. I was very satisfied. Even though this movie's longer than the animated one, it honestly didn't feel like a drag to me at all. I was very engaged the entire time. I think Ursula was also just fine. Melissa McCarthy doesn't do an incredible job, but I think she does a just fine job here, and I really enjoyed this. And I think if you're just going into this to watch a Little Mermaid movie, if you're a fan of the original, I think you're gonna like this one. Now we're gonna be talking about a completely different movie, a horror movie, The Boogeyman, and I was excited about this one. I'm always excited for a horror movie, and the trailers made it look promising, and I think this movie was just okay. I genuinely think the best parts of this movie were the ones where the Boogeyman was not involved, which I think is kind of a problem when the movie is called The Boogeyman. This movie deals a lot with like family trauma and grief and how that affects a family, like the girls and the dad in the situation, and I think the portrayal of that was actually really well done and really well acted, especially from Sophie Thatcher and Vivian Blair, which she did a really good job in this movie. And then after the movie, when I looked her up, I'm like, oh my god, that was Leia in the Obi-Wan series, so I was just really happy about that. But either way, I think it was really well acted, and I also really like that they kind of kept the circle of the movie small, because I got to sort of understand these characters a little bit better than it being a whole big family or a whole bunch of set of characters. Like, we really just stay with the three main characters the whole time and an occasional other person. I just feel like I left feeling a little bit empty and a little bit disappointed. Like, I don't think this movie is bad in any way. I feel like this movie should have really honed in on the psychological horror, because that's kind of what it was giving in the first half of the movie. The way this movie opens is horrifying. I literally got chills all over my body. I was like, okay, we're into some serious stuff in this movie. And I think by the end of it, it was all very disappointing and very like typical horror movie-esque. I think if you've seen any horror movie in recent years and you watch this one, it's gonna be very similar. Like, a lot of the things that happen with the Boogeyman, like, they're not doing anything original with it, and I'm not asking them to reinvent the genre or anything, but I was a little disappointed with how serious the stakes were at the beginning and how it sort of ended. And like I said, I really do appreciate the whole grief aspect into this, but in a way, I wish they kind of would have paired that a lot more with the Boogeyman, because they try to, but I don't think it kind of works. And I also wish we would have understood a little bit more of why the Boogeyman was here and why this family, because again, I feel like there's a little bit of an understanding there, especially when they talk about the past. It's such a small part of this movie where I think it should have been a lot bigger, because I was very intrigued with how they were setting things up in the first act. And my Letterboxd review was literally, why is the Boogeyman underrated in its own movie? Like, I just think the Boogeyman wasn't used enough, and I kind of wish it was creepier. Like I said, the opening act, I was like, that's terrifying. And there were certain moments here, I will say, where I jumped. Like, there's a specific one where I literally did not expect it at all. And I love moments like that because they're not predictable. But I also think it fell flat, and it felt very typical horror movie, where I think it could have been a lot more with how they were setting it up. And I definitely think using the grief and stuff, they should have definitely honed in on the psychological horror aspect. I wouldn't not recommend it, so I still think if you like horror movies, go ahead and watch it, because there is some interesting stuff going on here. And now at the end of this, we are talking about Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, which I'm so excited to talk about it. I genuinely have not felt this like excitement over a movie in a while. It had me so invested in this. Like, I was fully immersed in this movie, and I think they did such a good job with that. But first, I want to talk about how incredible the animation is in this movie. I think it's a given. It's gorgeous looking. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was also very gorgeous, and this style of animation is one of my favorites. There was so much going on screen at all times that I kept thinking to myself, how long did this take to animate? Because there's so many frames where I'm like, I could literally get this and frame this in my room. Like, it is such a gorgeous movie. And the way they use lighting to foreshadow things and to separate the different Earths on IMAX, it just looked jaw-dropping, like jaw-droppingly beautiful. Like, I literally wish I could watch it every single day on IMAX. It was so gorgeous. And this is just me saying, if you haven't seen this movie yet, go watch it on IMAX before it leaves IMAX. And I really like that this movie is still a Miles Morales movie, but you really get a lot more from Gwen, which was really, really exciting to me. I really liked her in Into the Spider-Verse, and I think in this movie, they really solidify her more as a character, and I'm just so excited for what's coming next. Like, you feel so many things for her as well as you do for Miles, and I think they balanced both of them extremely well in this movie, and it sets up future things for them in the next movie and stuff like that. And the stakes in this movie feel so high. Like, there were certain moments where I really did not know what they were gonna do next, and guys, like, if you've seen the movie, the way it ends is just extremely exciting from a fan perspective, but also just as a movie. Like, I think they did a very good job in my opinion, of making this its own movie with somewhat of an ending for this story while still very much continuing it, because I felt satisfied at the end of it. It wasn't like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I have to wait for the next movie for me to fully be immersed. Like, no, this is very much its own movie, but it's like we have big stuff coming in the next one. There are so many things playing in this movie, and I think they balanced it all extremely well, where I never felt like I got too little of anything. It's such a well-written story for Miles and all the other characters. There's so many cool moments that I just did not expect, cool cameos that I didn't expect, and they were so earned. Like, they weren't cameos that they were like, no, we're putting this here for a reaction. It was like, it felt so genuine and it fit right into the story. The soundtrack, how can I not talk about the soundtrack? So good. I'm obsessed with this movie. Like, right now, this is just putting me on such a great mood, this movie, and I'm so excited for what's next, and I can't wait. Like, I'm gonna be right there when the next one comes out, and I'm so excited. So, if you haven't seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, you got to. Like, seriously. Obsessed with this movie, and right now, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I don't know if it'll change in the future. Maybe it's because I just watched it, but like, it was so good. It was so good.